I mean, it's an honor.
Kendall Jenner can't seem to catch a break lately.
The internet is furious over Kendall Jenner posing in an afro.
Someone calls me with more bad news like every 5 minutes.
Kendall Jenner has found herself involved in another controversy in regard to one of her projects.
It seems like Kendall Jenner just can't catch a break these days.
Another day, another Card Jenner accused of cultural appropriation. So Vogue.
Kendall Jenner's photo shoot with Vogue magazine this past October was a part of the November issue that centered around the creation of the Council of Fashion Designers of America and Vogue Fashion Fund. In the pictures, Jenner is posed in a floral Brock collection gown with her hair being teased out in a 1970s look. The pictures were taken by Michael Jansen and the models were styled by Tone Goodman. Dutch model Iman Hammond, 22, was alongside Jenner when she wore her hair in this straight style. The media made claims stating that the supposed afro hair was perceived as unprofessional, insulting, and unkempt. Others claimed the hairstyle was not offensive, stating that it was just curly hair teased out in a 1970s style, and that it does not resemble an afro. Many proponents of the former even went on to say Jenner was displaying cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation, according to the Dictionary of Cambridge, is the act of taking or using things from a culture that is not your own, especially without showing that you understand or respect this culture. Now, in previous decades, what people would now deem cultural appropriation was in no way considered shameful or oppressive. During the Woodstock era and hippie movement in the late 60s, dressing in these ways were seen as a form of resistance. The Woodstock Music Festival and the hippie movement happening around it were in a sense in opposition to the contemporary American government and culture. By wearing traditional dress of Eastern religions, the hippies rejected Western beliefs, which were newly defined by consumerism. Plus, by wearing these different garbs, people also claimed their solidarity to their oppressed friends. These people were peaceful and used their attire as a way to protest in this manner. In modern times, people acknowledge why in our different climate these outfits may now seem offensive and be prime examples of appropriation. Our friends of Indian and African descent face oppression and hate on a daily basis, so it is now believed that wearing their garb for attention and praise is unfair, especially since people of color receive criticism for embracing their roots, while Caucasians are lauded. Zendaya, for example, was told her dreadlocks looked as if they reeked of weed by fashion critic Juliana Rancic, whereas Kim K gets thousands of likes for posting a photo with the same hairstyle. In the past, wearing these outfits were a form of protesting against Western culture, but nowadays they are a way of conforming to Western culture. In a society defined by social media and the need to flaunt almost every aspect of one's life to the public, these sharings are a way of showing one's fashion sense. People wear these outfits simply to gain attention from those around them and likes on Instagram. Their actions become less about unity and more about needing others to validate them and their choices. At the time when this controversy unleashed all over social media, more prominently Twitter, Vogue quickly made a statement regarding this primary motive behind the photo shoot. Vogue told E! News, "The image is meant to be an update of the romantic Edwardian Gibson girl hair, which suits the period feel of the Brock collection, and also the big hair of the 60s and the early 70s, that puffed out look," the magazine said. "We apologize if it came across differently than intended. We certainly did not mean to offend anyone by it." But in addition to Vogue's rebuttal, many Twitter users questioned if anyone felt that this was cultural appropriation at all. Many women of color claimed they did not feel Kendall was styled in an afro, and that the only people perpetuating this accusation were the tabloids themselves. This scenario has come time and time again, where the media sensationalizes to the extent of creating pandemonium and controversy rather than objectively narrating it.
Asteroids smashing into the earth. Will that happen?
The massive gas line ruptures, could it happen in your neighborhood?
How many sex offenders
This
live
act
in
of
your
promoting false information for a good story was easy to do then, and is even easier to do now. The Jenner and Kardashian family also have a history of partaking in cultural appropriation.
Kim Kardashian causing controversy with her latest selfie.
Kim Kardashian is getting slammed yet again for cultural appropriation.
Khloe Kardashian is under fire for posting insensitive photos rocking a Native American headdress.
So the Kardashians have upheld a reputation, to say the least. After all these previous controversies and Kendall's recent Pepsi commercial incident, which was deemed offensive and racially inconsiderate, the tabloids might have known that declaring the Vogue photo shoot as just another Kardashian appropriation event would be expected and provide more attention from the public. While the public is starting to understand the tricks the media plays to gain attention, it is left up to them as to whether Kendall took part in yet another racially insensitive activity that her and her siblings are known for, or if she was wrongly accused based on exploitation. The use of mobile devices as a source for news stories has increased significantly. As of last spring, a startling 85% of Americans had begun reading the news on mobile phones, the same as those who used computers. The news is quite literally at our fingertips, and we are bombarded at all times, according to the Pew Research Center. 2/3 of Americans get at least some news on social media. However, in today's day and age, you can't trust everything you hear, especially since news outlets often seek to attract readers with outrageous or scandalizing headlines. Even the president, who averages 8 false or misleading claims a day, according to the Washington Post, has spoken out on various occasions against fake news. After all, the news is a business seeking profit, and scandalous and perhaps overblown headlines sell much more quickly than completely honest headlines. In fact, more than half of Americans surveyed by the Pew Research Center claim to frequently see at least somewhat inaccurate political news online. Additionally, news outlets capitalize off our society's fixation on political correctness, which has been exacerbated in modern times by our president's seeming lack thereof, and our quickness to aggression against anything that could be perceived as offensive by instigating trouble and inciting controversy. For example, it took less than 24 hours after it was announced that Trevor Noah would replace Jon Stewart on The Daily Show for critics to brandish old tweets that they claimed were anti-Semitic, sexist, or otherwise offensive. And Kathy Griffin's comedic career took a severe hit after she posted a controversial photo of herself holding the decapitated head of Donald Trump. Our predisposal to believe social media and innate craving for scandal explains why we were so quick to oppose Kendall Jenner without actually bothering to check for ourselves if the so-called afro was worth a social media explosion of fury. However, in the modern world of sensationalized stories, it's important to fact-check for yourself. Not everything on the internet or projected by news sources is true, so people need to be aware that the media might distort the truth for attention or sales. On the other hand, at times the media might be raising awareness of a legitimate societal issue. For example, the Kardashian-Jenner scandals involving niqab or Native American headdresses were definitely out of line, so we need the American public to arm themselves with information and cultural awareness to prevent celebrities from abusing their status and influence by exploiting a culture's way of life. It is morally wrong to make profit off a culture's traditions and heritage by claiming that it is novel. So is Kendall's Vogue photoshoot hairstyle an unacceptable example of cultural appropriation? That is for you to decide. So instead of keeping up with the Kardashian-Jenner family, be sure to keep up with being an educated citizen.